Peace, everybody. We're
Peace.
live. The little thingy is working.
Yep.
Now let me wait for YouTube to update so I won't be echoing. Come on, do it. Can you guys in the chat room hear me? If you can, press one. Okay, there it is. Boom. All right, y'all. This your brother, Mr. Holipsism. I'm with Ronin Black, Minister Dawud, and Umoja Black. Peace to everybody. The topic of this live stream is the Black Agenda Deconstructed. And let me give you a little preamble before we go into what it's about. Um, the reason for me doing this is I asked a question on Facebook, the same question I've been asking for like 30 years. What's the Black agenda? And so I guess Negroes have updated their shit. So they came out with some Google Drive document that's like a meme. And that's supposed to be the Black agenda, and it has 7 points. So what I decided to do was get my brothers, who I am honored to be on this show with, by the way. And we were going to dissect this thing and deconstruct it to show what's the flaws in that meme, and also to give our opinion of what we feel the Black agenda is. So first thing I want to do is access this damn thing. And the link is in the description box if you guys want to check and you can read along with us. But the title of this thing says Reparations Across the Board. And this is how it starts. It says the wealth of America was and is based on the economic exploitation of the descendants of American slaves. Black people are in the streets because police violence, white supremacists, terrorism, and institutional racism are all in place as a means to ensure prosperity for white people and subjugation of Black people. They hate us because we are Black, but they are able to victimize us because we are poor. That poverty is systemic and engineered, not accidental. The solution must be systemic and engineered, not accidental. Without addressing these issues, the society itself will fall into total chaos as the bait and switch tactics of deflect and distract are no longer no longer deceive the Black population. We require reparations across the board to correct these evils. While only the descendants of American slaves are eligible for reparations, steps to dismantle systemic white supremacy and stop white supremacist violence is a right of all a right of all melanated people of Aboriginal African descent. Let me keep reading. I'm gonna keep reading, just gloss over that. Reparations are not just financial. We require educational reparations to correct the crimes America's schools commit against Black children. We require judicial reparations for past crimes, such as the killers of Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin still walking free. Are they? Emmett Till's killers is walking free? I thought they're dead. Oh, all right. As well as the ongoing crimes of the white supremacist court system to continue de facto chattel slavery. We require political reparations to address how a majority Black area can be ruled over by confirmed white supremacist politicians. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to do is say this. I'm not attacking whoever wrote this and the people that's pushing this. I'm not attacking them personally. But I feel that we have to address this stuff because people are not thinking this shit through, and people are involving themselves in a really complicated subject matter without doing the proper research. One thing that stands out by what I just read is this all seems to be America centered. It seems to be like they're only concerned about fixing shit for Black people here in America. I see no reference to a nation state. I see no reference to land. I see no reference to nationhood in this. Everything, and then this line, the right of all melanated people. I don't give a fuck about all melanated people. Let me just say that for the record. I'm dealing with black folks here in America who's getting their ass kicked and treated as second and third class citizens by police and getting killed by police. That does not affect everybody. Because motherfuckers who can pass, or motherfuckers who's not black, they don't have to deal with that. We have to deal with it. So that's my major problem with that there. And just my biggest problem with this is just being America centered. Whoever wrote this and the people that's behind it don't have Africa as a plan B. And we're going to get into why that's important as we get into these points. Now, who has number one? Umoja?
I mean, that's number one.
Yeah, I don't think he's set yet.
What is okay, so let me read number one so he could while we're looking for him.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, number one. The agenda must address black people and only black people. Any discussion of addressing black people's needs must focus solely on black people. While that seems obvious, the problem is government and media have embarked on a campaign to detour all efforts to focus on black people by diverting attention away from black people and putting it on trick words like people of color and minorities, which they have twisted so much that minorities also includes white people, women, gays, white identifying Latinos, etc., as their strategy to deny black people resources. Goddamn, if that was like a Chips Ahoy cookie with like black people as the chips. You know, remember they said like every Chips Ahoy cookie has like 50 chips in it or some shit like that? Like, niggas made sure
they put as much chips as possible.
Yep.
People are saying they hear an echo. Is anybody like? Are you listening through your computer or are you on a microphone?
Me, I'm on my headphones, but all of us are echoing, son.
Really?
Yeah, you are too.
That's weird.
I'm not echoing on my end.
You're the only one I don't hear echo from.
Yeah, like when you guys talk, I don't hear echo.
Yeah, Ronin's not echoing.
For some reason,
but I can hear myself.
Yeah.
That is weird. Because I'm on a headset.
I'm using Beats headphones.
What are you using, Ronin?
Just regular headphones I got. I got Sony headphones with Sony earbuds.
Why the hell is that echoing? Oh, Umoja says he's ready.
Oh, okay. Well, we're already laid up the ball for you, brother. Hit it out the park.
Take yourself off mute.
I heard you said it.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let you talk, and I'm going to put all three of us on mute and see if that helps with the echo situation.
Yeah, maybe it will.
Everybody still there?
Yeah, we here. We just on mute. We're going to let you deal with number one, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Big brother already laid out. It's really hard to actually be against anything that they talking about. If you just look at it at face value, it's like, yeah, well, of course it should be black and, duh. However, we have real life evidence of when our movements happen, they pretty much never stay just all black. And the ones that do, it's usually on some religiosity stuff, some otherworldly stuff, or some we just gonna do it right here in America type stuff. So when I personally seen that, I was like, man, I want to talk about this one because yeah, let's keep everything all black. And it sounds great. It sounds great. And like it's really not much for me to even say about this one. But when we talk about it, I want people who listening to think about movements in their own city, movements that they've been a part of. You always have a Negro of 7 saying, well, what about my wife? What about my husband? He Italian, you know, he ain't white. He, or why I gotta be all them? We need everybody. And it sounds so lovely. It's like, yeah, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to be talking about what quote unquote we need to do, because in a perfect world, everybody would say, yeah, we're all humans and it's like Negroes want to be the universal, not the universal, pardon me, the universe is humanitarians. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to save everything. We want to save the animals. We want to save all people. We want to love everybody. You know what I mean? We want to be the holiest. We want to just know if we just love everybody, everything would be okay. Why everybody hate us? But no, we need to love everybody. So when we talk about the movements being black and black only and black first, it's like, yeah, that's great. It should be number one. I 100% agree with you. But I've personally dealt with these situations where I'm looking and my hands is in my head is in my hands, like a child looking at TV in the middle of the night, like, okay, motherfuckers, really? Why we talking about somebody else? Why we want to go run to them and ask them to be good? Why we want to run to them and ask them for a fund for a fucking activity? Why don't we talk to our own people and say, look, if we just do this ourselves, they will come and knocking at the door and say, nigga, what you want? What do you need? Because all of a sudden y'all not dealing with us anymore. I'm uncomfortable with that. But as long as the first thing we do is say, love everybody. Let's go see what the white people want us to do. Let's do what they doing. Look at them, how they do it. And we can't never just actually do for ourselves. Like, number one shouldn't be something that has to be even written there. Really, we should already be doing that. Pardon me for always saying we and quote unquote we, because like straight up early and already I understood quick, like, man, ain't no us, man. It's only a couple of us. Really, ain't no fucking us. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say about number one, because I agree with it. It's hard to disagree with number one, but I want everybody to think about it. It sounds great. Like, a lot of these are gonna sound great, but when you look at reality and not just the gesture or the emotions that go with this agenda, you look at reality, you will see. In reality, think about it. Think about it. I'm talking about even some shit like the NAACP. Didn't they have a white girl as a motherfucking president or something like that? Like, and that's small. I'm talking about, you got institutions that's supposed to be all black. The president, white. The board, white. But it's supposed to be all black. So how in the hell you gonna do anything about black people when black people ain't really running it? That's all I gotta say before I get irritated about it. That's it. If somebody else want to add on to it, obviously, but that's it.
Oh shit! What happened to Minister? I think he got knocked off.
Dropped. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll put him back on when he logs back in. Thank you for that. Number one, that was cool. Yeah, like you said, man, I don't think there's anything to disagree with that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we all are about, just keeping it black and stop, putting everybody's agenda before our own. Yeah, the echo is going again, but I'm gonna get into number two. I'm gonna put y'all on mute while I do that, so that echo will go away. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. So, number two, Black society's top priority is economic empowerment. Oh, there he goes. I'm gonna add him to the screen and put him on mute. Okay. I'll put you on mute, Minister, because I'm doing number two. Black society's top priority is economic empowerment. Virtually all of Black America's ills can be traced directly back to the lack of economic resources. From education to healthcare to housing, lack of money is the prime factor behind those issues. America has waged a never-ending war to prevent Black people from having economic resources for the exploitative benefit of the rest of society. There needs to be a Marshall Plan for the descendants of American slaves, patterned after the Marshall Plan that was initiated in Japan after World War II. Public and private entities must all be incentivized and required to participate, as practically all of America's public and private entities have benefited from keeping Black people economically suppressed. Now, here's an example of what I'm talking about, where people haven't expanded their view outside of America and haven't really done the research, because I'm wondering if the person who did this knows about the Marshall Plan. What's the actual Marshall Plan? And the Marshall Plan is it was also known as the European Recovery Program, and this was providing aid to Western Europe, and this was following the devastation of World War II. It was enacted in 1948, and it provided more than about 15 billion to help finance and rebuild efforts in Europe, which equates, they say, to about 60 billion right now. That 15 billion would be 60 billion if they were doing it right now. Now, the thing about the Marshall Plan, which I found it odd that they wanted to make them, include the Marshall Plan in the Black agenda, because what they leave out is that the Marshall Plan was not a domestic plan. The Marshall Plan was foreign aid. And the Marshall Plan didn't give checks to individuals. The Marshall Plan gave checks to countries. Let me tell you the countries that they gave it to: Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, West Germany, Great Britain, Greece, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, and Turkey. So I just find it funny that you're using a plan that actually was in place to help nations, help countries, help governments, but you want to apply that to some vague, ambiguous, I don't even know what, because nobody has said nation in this agenda. Nobody's talked about organizing as a nation state and having an actual government as Black people. So who's supposed to get the money? Like, let's say you had $60 billion under a so-called Marshall Plan for Black people in America. Who's getting the money? Is that going to be divvied up amongst individuals? That makes absolutely no fucking sense. And that's all I got to say about number two. I want to bring y'all in and ask y'all, what do you think about it? What I just said. Did I make any sense?
You made perfect sense, man. I mean,
No doubt.
Wait, is Umoja? Oh, Umoja's still muted.
I'm here, G.
Oh, there you go.
You kind of had the echoes going.
That's cool. What do you think about the Marshall Plan for Black folks here in America?
Well, there is none. First of all, like, because you could even look at, I think we was talking in the chat. Matter of fact, we was talking on the chat about this actually, and I was mentioning stuff like, yeah, you talk about economics and you talk about, oh, this is what we need some reparations and all this stuff, and you could talk about, and then when you look at any kind of evidence about what these Negroes is talking about, and you can't tell me that everything is fine, but there's states where the net income of Black folks is almost nothing, where the net worth, is almost literally nothing. To the average Black folks, nothing. When the average Black family is almost 250 years behind the average white family, you can't tell them, I don't want to wait, bro. And then at the same time, though, they'll say something like, well, for the last 5 years, Black women have been the most new entrepreneurs, been the most new business owners, and we'll clap and be like, hey, hallelujah, Jesus is real. Black women killing it. But when you look at what's happening in reality, what plan? Which one?
You there, Minister? Dawud?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going in and out. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Oh my goodness.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And
Oh,
then
by the way, it's Ron. Like when I mute Ronin, the echo go away, but when I take it off, then it comes back. I don't know why it's doing that.
that's them damn Sony headphones. I don't even know what he doing. Ronin,
So
Ronin,
forgive me,
Xbox.
Ronin, if I mute you while they talking. Okay.
That's
Okay.
them Xbox headphones running on playing.
Yeah, Dawud. I wanted to. Did you hear what I said about number 2?
I didn't hear the gist of it. No, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Been
I
kind of
can
moving my.
sum it up. Basically, they mentioned the Marshall Plan to address descendants of American slaves here in America, but I said the Marshall Plan is not a U.S. domestic plan. It's actually a foreign aid plan to give money and I wouldn't say reparations, but aid to countries.
Mm.
So it doesn't deal with
Well,
individuals; it deals with countries. So wouldn't it make sense for us to have a nation state?
yeah, that's the ultimate lob right there. That's the ultimate lob. So I'm going to do the Sean Kemp and come from the foul line and flush that bad boy. So here's the thing. The thing is that again, it's just like I was saying last night. We're still thinking like individuals, and 90% of the people who have hashtag cut the check, they're looking for their own check. And what they don't realize is, in the context of what we're talking about, you getting some kind of payment or aid or whatever, it doesn't work the same way in your own nation as it does in somebody else's nation. So therefore, what happens is that you get a check, and it's really designed for you to spend it back in their economy, bolstering their whatever they're doing to suppress you. And if
Right.
you don't have your own context, if you didn't build your own context, then that money basically it's a revolving door. It comes in, even if you save it for a while, eventually you're going to spend it in their context. And what these people don't realize is, even if you build a sub nation, which we all know is impossible, but let's give that to them for a second. Even if you build a sub nation within a nation, ultimately, where's the money ultimately going to go? You cannot, it's going to have to circulate. You know how they used to say, the black preachers used to say back in the day, the dollar circulates 5 times in the Jewish community. It only circulates 1 time in the black community, but it circulates. And what does that mean? That means once it leaves, it goes back to the dominating government.
Hmm.
So even if we get the shit to turn over 50 times, let's say we really good at washing, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we get it to turn over 50 times. When it leaves, where does it go? It goes to that government. And that means you're still going to be at a disadvantage. A true economic plan, like we have been saying for a long time, gives us another context someplace else where we then have leverage because we have something established someplace else that aids you here and bolsters your situation that's not controlled by anybody else. That helps and bolsters our stuff and not their stuff. That you will never ever achieve that if if you're only talking about having that inside somebody else's context.
Right. Exactly. So
But
who
you know what though,
handles?
bro? Let
Right.
me lob you a ball real quick. I really think that the people who wrote this, they don't even realize that that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Exactly. They're using a lot of
Right.
solutions and incorporating things that actually are solutions for nations, not
Right,
individuals.
right,
I
right.
mean, even when you talk about economics, because we could talk about economics, but economics is obviously more than money. However, like in this context, we talking about money, and black folks for some reason is under the impression that on one hand we don't have money, then we clap when we realize the spending power that we have. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, black folks got all the money. Black folks literally have the resources. Black folks do have power, but when it comes down to using it, we're not a monolith. We're not a monolithic people. We don't all want the same thing, and then it gets irritating. Just like I was talking on the line a couple of days ago. Like, man, I'm tired of hearing these people, literally millionaire black folks with good hearts, and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But my accountant just told me that I get this nice tax write off if I go get it to this cancer fund for kids. You know, or you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, everybody get a car. Or I'm gonna build a school in Africa and teach some more white supremacy to my people, you know, and get a little photo out. But we do have money. We can have economics. But just like the minister said, it comes down to me. I just want to make sure I'm straight. I want to make sure, excuse me, I'm laying down on my back. Um, I remember, say this and then pass the mic. I remember I was sitting down one day and I was listening to some people and we was talking about this, and it literally hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, man, you give a Negro, depending on where you at, I think I use 50,000. You give a Negro a 50K a year job with benefits, he's neutralized. He's neutralized because I'm straight. I'm talking about this 50 with medical and benefit. Man, listen, I don't want to hear none of you. I'm not posting nothing on Facebook. I don't want to talk. Y'all niggas is crazy. I'm straight. I'm going to work.
As has already been shown, comfortable people can't craft policy for uncomfortable people.
Neutralized.
Because what's going to happen is it's going to be incremental change, little stuff around the edges because they're comfortable, they're taken care of, so there's no sense of urgency. But I want to move on. Who's handling number 3?
Number 3 was me, G.
Oh, that's you? All right. I'm going to mute us and you go for it.
Number 3 for the people who at home and can't see it. Number 3, make dismantling of systemic white supremacy public policy. And it reads, the tradition of America is to practice white supremacy while pretending that white supremacy doesn't exist. They pretend that they simply don't understand why the wealth gap, income gap, incarceration rate, and healthcare greatly favor white people and consistently penalize Black people. America spent 5 decades pursuing a racially fabricated policy of a war on drugs. It's time to make public policy of a war on white supremacy. Sorry, y'all. On a war on white supremacy in all its forms. In recent years, if you are a pimp helping women to become prostitutes, you are now classified as a human trafficker. Malcolm X said white supremacist violence should be prosecuted as an international war crime. The fact that pimping has now been elevated to that level, but the original sin of white supremacy has not, is a crime against human decency. I laughed at the war on white supremacy because it's funny as fuck. And this, I can't even say, like, just the first statement, the description, make dismantling of systemic white supremacy public policy. Like, dismantling systemic white supremacy, great. Once you put in public policy, I gotta say, stop. Because that's like asking, for example, actually, that's like asking a pimp who got 5 hoes and who's breaking themselves. I'm talking about everybody doing 8,000 a night, right? Everybody bringing in 5,000 a night. And that's like the hoes coming to the pimp and just being like, you know what? Mind you, they not stop paying them, but they just come, once a month or something and say, you know what? Maybe we should just give you 8 and we keep at least 2 a day and do our own thing. Is that okay? Like, but I'm still paying you. I'm still giving you that 1,000, even if I ain't even. And when I make more, when I make 1,200, you getting 1,200. I'm still giving you that. But then every now and then I just sit around with my sister hoes and say, man, what if we just could keep 2? If we could just keep 2, or maybe he just don't slap us when we only come with 8. And when you talk about white supremacy as public policy, that's literally saying legislation that's saying, I mean, because when I think of white supremacy, I think of, man, I meant to look this up too. I did a post, it's been a while now, because somebody was talking about what is white supremacy, and white supremacy doesn't exist and it's a mental thing. Get that. However, when you look at the district attorneys, the percentage that's white. When you look at police, the percentage that's white. When you look at when you look at school administrators, the number of that, the percentage of that, literally all of them is like 70s, 80s, some of them 90%. Man, I gotta find that shit. I know it's in one of my posts. I could have wrote that shit too, but that's white supremacy. That's systemic white supremacy. When the things at the top, what's at the top? What is at the top? And why would I, being at the top, say, you know what? Y'all right. Y'all right. Even now, it's hot right now. And Negroes love symbolic gestures so much that they can just hear. I was talking to my OG partner here, he tricked me, had me come to something I thought was gonna be all black men. He was like, man, I want you to come and talk and everything. And I was like, I don't even do that shit like that. And I come, all the white people, mind you, just Portland, Oregon, all the white people there, everybody there, and it is not at all what it was supposed to be. But I was talking to him and I was like, man, G, we dealing with a people who right now, if, for instance, if Donald Trump came out and said, you know what, y'all, Black lives do matter, peace. Man, so many Negroes would, another neutralizer, so many Negroes would literally be like, see, everything is going to be okay. And that's just any kind of symbol of progress and hope. It seems like it's, man, I understand it, but it's just like, it just really moves me. So when we talk about the public policy thing, it also makes me think about the guy Amos Wilson in one of his great speeches. He was like, laws don't mean nothing. I know I ain't quoting him verbatim, and I know one of y'all brothers literally was probably there listening to him, but he was like, laws don't mean nothing unless you have the power to enforce them. you telling the people who make the laws to change the laws that go against them. And even if they do, because there are laws that is supposed to keep all this stuff from happening. But them same laws, still niggas get killed. You know, somebody die and everybody is protesting everything, and then the very next weekend somebody else died. All of a sudden people hung all across the country, kids, literally kids, adults, all of a sudden. But them laws, them laws and policies, fuck your policy. The policy needs to be us getting our own. That's the only policy we need, is our own. So yeah, I literally laughed. A war on white supremacy. A war on white supremacy. That's all I want to talk about here, y'all, because anything else is I'm gonna just start getting angry and sound like an angry black man, because I am angry. I am angry.
Okay.
Shit.
Cool. I think we dealt with that one. Let me unmute. Ronin. We can hear you, Ronin.
Oh, y'all can hear me?
Yeah. What did you think about what he just said?
Well, I mean, dismantling the system of white supremacy policy. How are you going to do that? You're in the conqueror's land. It's that simple. The conqueror versus the conquered people. He doesn't have to do a goddamn thing. He won. He sets the laws. He wrote them. He can institute it. There's nothing you can do about it. You got all these elected black officials, and we still in the same arguments are on the table. So all of this is just a bunch of nonsense. I mean, I'm not being cruel, but I mean, white supremacy is not even exclusive to white folks. You can go to China. The coronavirus kicked out over there, and then they didn't want any Africans in the restaurants. They wanted to kick them out the country. That's white supremacist ideology right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good luck with that one. I want to be able to beat up the juggernaut, but I can't do it.
I agree. Let's move on to number four. I'm gonna mute everybody and let you go for that, Ronin.
All right. Number 4, white supremacists and police violence is a human rights violation. Jesus Christ. When China or countries in the Middle East have police execute people based on their race, ethnicity, or political ideology, the United States calls those human rights violations, and the United States has invaded countries for that offense. America didn't listen to excuses from these governments as to why it was acceptable. The United States needs to be held to the same standards. America has been using police to terrorize and execute black people with the support of racist district attorneys and judges in order to sustain systemic white supremacy. When you have systemic racial practices. It demands systemic remedies. Like I said before, the conqueror crafted the rules. The system is working exactly how it's supposed to be. So we're in the 21st century. You got more elected black officials than any other time in the history of this country, yet they can't do anything to guarantee the safety of African Americans in this country. None whatsoever. None. And white supremacy, what is that? It's white. It should be white supremacist ideology. It's an ideology. I mean, you can get all the black judges. You can get all the situation here. The easy answer is simple: land, infrastructure. They should. That puts it into all of that. Plain and simple. But if we're just breaking this down and analyzing this, what is the point? What are you trying to prove here in the United States? You've been here 494 years. You haven't even tried it. You tried the same stupid things. Oh, we got to do this, got to march, we got to get more people elected, we got to do this and that. But yet here we are in 2020, the same things are happening right now. Someone gets shot, let's protest, let's talk about going out to the ballot box. We got to get judges on, we got to control the Supreme Court, we got to have congressmen, senators, mayors, governors, yada, 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 yada. But here we are, police violence. You know what the police is. It used to be the slave patrols. Anyone who's got any common sense, they know what that is. So all of this is just ridiculous. It gets tiring. It's just me punching the wall and watching my hands bleed and breaking my hands over and over and over again. And there's not really much to discuss on it. I mean, it's just plain and simple. If you got land, you got infrastructure, and a nation state away from here, you don't have to worry about any of this. You don't have to worry about police violence. You don't have to worry about human rights violations. You don't have to worry about judges. You don't have to worry about any of that because you control it from top to bottom. You have your president, your Congress, your Senate, whichever way we want to put it. The police department, every facet is under our control. You don't have that here. Because we're conquered people. And that's pretty much all I got to say.
Cool. I think Dawud has to go. So let me see. Can you talk, Dawud?
Yes, sir. I can talk.
Cool. You said you had to cut out.
Yeah, because my son is taking me to my son is taking me to the out for Father's Day, and I didn't want to be rude.
Can you talk, Dawud?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Wait, that's me echoing.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, my son is taking me out for Father's Day, so I don't want to jump the line because I know Ronin just went, and I'm supposed to do 5 and 7.
Yeah.
So
do you have time now?
Oh yeah, I got time to do. Well, you want me to do 5 and 7 now?
If you can, like if you got time to do it.
I can do it. Let me call it up real quick.
Okay.
Call it up real quick because I keep having to download this thing because it's a Google Drive. This nigga made sure that we all got this. Let me get up to it real quick. The music that you hear in the background, I didn't pick it.
I don't hear anything, so.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say. Okay, number 5 is. Oh yeah. I gotta do this. Number 5, schools can no longer be weaponized against black children. Anyway. I'm not gonna curse on your channel. Schools, both public and private, operate on a standard practice of targeting black children from as early as Head Start to remove them from the classroom. The typical strategy is to claim the child has a learning disability or is a disciplinary problem, and that there are only 3 solutions to the problem. Put the child in special education to handicap his learning, put him on psychotropic drugs to alter his brain chemistry, and have him suspended from school and even arrested. This leads to the disproportionate number of black students who drop out of school, which makes them far more likely to end up in prison. White children who express the same behaviors don't receive the same treatment. Homeschooling for capable parents and cultivation of black education academies that meet reasonable education criteria are the best method for addressing white supremacy in the classroom. Well, let me start by saying this, okay? Because if anybody is listening to this that is outside of the BAIO, you will normally think that we're haters and we're just basically deconstructing this because we're haters. And what we're trying to get you guys to understand is that these points that are being given here are built off an old way of thinking that we have been living through since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And those of us who've been around for that, we can see it. But it is not a modern way of thinking, and it doesn't have to do with the end game. And so if you was to apply what is the end game to point number 5, in my judgment, first, the problem has not been properly diagnosed. It is not only that white people are doing all of the above in the classrooms, it's the fact that our neighborhoods are fucked up. And we're growing up in a fucked up neighborhood with dysfunctional family and all these other things that Candace Owens and the rest of these conservative Negroes will try to blame on us. But it is because we're under a system that you have to try to get yourself out from under. So just homeschooling or starting some kind of Black African-centered charter school, that's going to help a tad bit. But the reality of it is when they come out of school, and I said this on my radio show years ago, when they come out of school, where are they going to work? And the reality of it is that you don't have any Black corporations. You don't have any multi-billion-dollar Black corporations that they could work in. So when you do educate them properly to do what? Well, they're going to start their own business. And when they do start their own business, is that the same as if you were in your own nation, had your own context, and you schooled them, they came out of that school and they were able to participate in something that was Black owned, that was, basically recognized nationwide. And there's a big, really hit on your self-esteem when everything that you're looking forward to when you get out of school doesn't look like you. I wanted to be a comic artist and work for Marvel Comics when I came out. When I was in college, I got kind of disillusioned by it as much as I discovered chasing women. But the reality of it is I got disillusioned by it because I realized that if I worked for that corporation, I would not be able to achieve my goal, which is to have as many Black, all Black teams or individual comics as I possibly could. That was my goal. That was my goal ever since I was 4 or 5 years old, was to draw Black comics with Black teams. You wasn't doing that in Marvel, because they already had what they wanted as far as a Black team. And if you would have came there with your idea, they told you, that's nice, nigga, but we want you to draw this and we want you to draw that. And so for myself, I think that is a micro way of looking at it, but it's not a macro way of looking at it, because the education system itself bears witness to the nation, and it should bear witness to the nation. So for you to now put in an education system that's opposite of theirs, remember, before this whole Black Lives Matter movement came about and it became popular because of George Floyd, they were in many different southern states talking about striking certain parts of slavery out of history, period. So now you didn't have the ability to teach that there was slavery. You didn't have the ability to teach that there was lynchings and burnings and things like that. And why do you think they was taking that out? Because they wanted to basically control you even more, so that even that wasn't going to trigger you, because they're doing everything they can to stop what they've always said was the rise of a Black Messiah. And so this, what you're talking about here, does work in a satellite community when you have a nation. But it does not work when you are in a nation and you're trying to do a nation within a nation, and the governing body, the overseer, is not your people, and they're working in their own best interest. And what we need to understand as a people, more than anything, I think, is that nations run for the majority's best interest. In America, the majority is who? It's white folks. So it's working for their best interest, and it's supposed to work for their best interest. You got to start thinking about your best interests off the shores of America in a context that is built for you yourself. And when you begin to feel like that, or focus on that, I believe that you and I will come up with much better solutions. And this right here will be a reality, but it will only be a reality in a satellite nation, not in a nation. Because in a nation of your own, you don't need the homeschool. In a nation of your own, you don't need private schooling and all that other stuff. In a nation of your own, the education system is built from the bottom up with you in mind. So why would you need the homeschool? Why would you need private school? Everything there is bearing witness to your greatness. So I don't want to go too long because there's other things that I would like to say. I guess the last thing I want to say is this. I've learned in my life that education is about self-esteem. It's about self-confidence. And it's not about how really, quote unquote, smart you are, or how your IQ is. But when you believe in yourself, The tough math problems, the tough science problems, the tough reading problems that you have, you can overcome. But when you don't believe in yourself, all of that shit becomes hard for you. So how are you supposed to believe in yourself when you're born in a nation that teaches you that everything other than you is great? And you will say, well, let's start teaching the opposite. But when you go outside that school, the system still exists that teaches you that everything other than you is great. And so therefore, you know what I mean? Like, we've tried this for years in various different enclaves, like Muhammad University, the Israelites had schools, the Nuwabians had schools. Now it's time for us to stop screwing around and get the real deal, have our own nation, so that every school is a Muhammad University. Every school is a Nuwabian school, an Israelite school, whatever it is that we're trying to do. Not necessarily those factions, but you know what I'm saying. So that's my thing about point number 5. Which other one I was supposed to do? Point number 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Was I on point with that?
You always on point. Why would you even ask that?
I'm sorry, brother. You know me. I got to be Fife, right? Because you're the Q-tip. So okay. So number 7 is 20% of public and private contract. Oh my God. 20% of public and private contracts should be reserved for Black businesses. America has done business. You could have gone that way, but it's all good. It's all good. You can get on the highway and then go Western Avenue. America has done business strictly along Black ethnic lines. When you get to 87, it's like you're on your way to Crossgates. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm here with my son. It's actually a pleasure to be driving him, although he got a lead foot just like his dad. So pray for me, y'all. He might kill me. But America has done business strictly along ethnic lines. It has embarked on a sustained campaign of bombing Black business districts like the various Black Wall Street, as well as using racial regulations to target Black business today for destruction. All of this is, whoa, you got to slow down. All of this is done to protect white business and preserve white economic privilege. To correct this, the public and private sectors that have all profited off of economically disenfranchising Black citizens should repay their debt by instituting a minimum mandatory 20% contracting requirement. Damn, this is comprehensive, isn't it? With businesses that are Black sole proprietorships or are corporations that are 75% Black owned. City contracts, municipal bonds, equity stakes in these private companies, tax credits, and or exemptions for taxes owed, land grants, and set aside 0% financing, as well as direct cash disbursements are all suitable methods of addressing these debts. The U.S. government was able to instantly agree to allocate $10 trillion to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak of 2020. It did not require a study, a commission, or a vote from, that's where you're wrong, for the general population. It was done because it was deemed necessary. It's an insult to tell Black people that all of a sudden, all types of examinations and delays are needed before we can be given what a virus was given without a thought. Now that right there is kind of bullshit. There absolutely was studies. There absolutely was research. There absolutely was all of that. But the studies, the research, and the examinations was done by white folks for white folks. What part of this do you niggas do not understand? What part of this do you not understand? It's like you are expecting a nation that operates in the majority's best interests to then turn around and operate in your interests when they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They said, how does this pandemic affect us? And how can we make it not affect us? And once they came up with the solution, bang, let's send out stimulus. Let's do this, let's do that. And as far as I'm concerned, it was kind of effective for them. But it was not effective for us. Now, as far as businesses, I'm a business owner, Holip's a business owner, and there's many of us here that are business owners. And what we do know is, quite frankly, this. There are a lot of set-asides for Black businesses, but then when you try to take advantage of these set-asides, what ends up happening? The government begins to put its fucking tentacles in your business and finds out every nook and cranny of it, and then all of a sudden you find out that you get sanctioned and you can't do this and you can't do that. Trust me when I tell you. And so therefore, you're really asking for the government to go through all of your papers, line by line, word by word, so you can get a break? And in reality, that's not what you want. And let me tell you something. I do a domestic violence class, 2 domestic violence classes for my organization called Community Fathers. And what happened is the Department of Corrections, because of bail reform, they lost a lot of money. So they tried to figure out, well, how can we make some of this money back? Because they had to lay off parole officers, correction officers, everything. And they figured, how can we make this money back? So what they did was they said, I got it. We're going to start running our own programs instead of outsourcing programs. So what they did was is they came up with their own anger management, their own domestic violence, their own parenting classes. And then what they did was they exercised the monopoly and they told all the parole officers, you can't use Dawud's program anymore because it's not a vetted program. So when they said that, we sent them all sorts of forms and everything that made us certified, and them niggas still said we wasn't certified. That is exactly what they're going to do to you when you think that they're going to play fair and set contracts aside. You are out of your goddamn mind if you think that this government that has never played fair with you is going to all of a sudden, because you have marched and tore up some shit, all of a sudden they're going to start setting aside contracts and setting aside taxes and things like that. They will flip it. And what they will do is they will say, well, we need to see your books. We need to see all your licenses. We need to see all this and we need to see all that. And once they find a little fine crack in your shit, then all of a sudden they'll find a reason why you shouldn't be in business anymore. If you, in fact, have your own nation and satellite communities, and your satellite communities use your nation's sovereignty to advocate for you, then you will be able to compete with other people because you now have a sovereign land. I don't know. I don't understand why that part of our message doesn't get through to people. I really don't. But those of you who are in this for the money, because there's some people that's in this for the money, surely you understand that if you had your own nation, that you would have economic leverage because whatever it is that your nation advocates for, you would be able to get eventually. But when you don't have your own nation and they can't advocate for you, you're out here by yourself on your own. And they can choose to say that we really feel sad for the blacks. We're gonna help you. We're gonna set aside all this shit. Man, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Eventually, conservative radio will rise up against this shit. There will be enough white people, and when the next president gets in office, what you think that nigga's gonna do? The next president is gonna say quietly, we want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, and that means whites too. And there goes all your programs that you got under this president. And we know that. All of us know that. But you're still putting out material like this shit is actually a fact, and it's possible, as if you don't know how white people play. You could go in that way. As if you don't know how white people play. So for me, all of this stuff sounds good. It really sounds good on paper, but in all practical use, there will be so much white backlash against this, it won't be funny. And the shit won't even last 90 days in my judgment. What y'all think?
Well, I agree 1,000%. Because, and this is the thing, like you can go through this whole list of this black agenda. Everything is America centered. Like this whole thing about 20% of public and private contracts should be reserved for black. What if you had your own fucking nation?
Exactly.
You think you'd be making more than 20%? What would be the percentage if you had control over the land that you live on?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this whole thing, like I said, and I don't want to attack the people because I think their heart is in the right place, but unfortunately, they still married to America.
You can't talk to him because they got for a second. Yeah, me too. Me too. And that's coloring everything that they do.
I disagree.
Because, uh-oh. Go ahead, speak on, bro.
Oh, that was Darius messing around.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think their whole yeah, my bad. My bad. I'm so sorry. No, I completely disagree. I think that their whole mindset is just toxic and it's illusional. It's like what I said in the chat. It's like an ideal gas versus a real gas. An ideal gas is not real. It's ideal. So ideally, that's how you would want America to act. But in reality, that's not the case. And I would also like to ask to all three of you this question. When he brought up the pandemic, does he forget that there's rich white people, white middle class people being affected? Because it's not just black people. He thinks this is just a black issue. Like, well, they were able to bail out America. Yeah, it's for all Americans. That's everybody. Hey, you're talking specifically to black people. So the question is, how is giving us 20% of this loans going to benefit white people? Because I need black people to start getting off this morality.
Well, it's not. That 20%, you could even ask even something more simple. Where you come up with that figure? 20%. Like, seriously, what is 20%? Why not 5%? Like, how many contracts is even out? You know, like, where the hell 20% come from? And what the hell is that going to do? You still
Fuck their contracts, man. Fuck their contracts.
You still asking daddy for allowance instead of saying, you know what, dad, I'm actually grown. I got a job now, nigga.
Thank you.
I don't need your allowance. How long you gonna take the baby steps until you fucking rent it? God damn.
Thank you. Yo, we only got one more left, which is number 6. I want to give Ronin a chance to finish that up, and then we can kind of mix it up afterwards, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry about that, Ronin.
Sorry, man. Number 6. Oh shit. Ah, damn, this shit dropped. God damn it. I can't read it. I dropped it by accident.
You want me to read it for you?
Yeah.
Remove monuments and institutions. Black people pay taxes, and yet our tax dollars do something to us that doesn't happen to anyone else. We are required to pay for. I'm just sorry for me to read without laughing. We are required to pay for white supremacists to sit in front of our courthouses, our schools, our parks, and our city halls. We have prisons that are set up primarily to serve as the new plantations of America via the 13th Amendment loophole. In a cruel irony, many states are closing schools but building prisons, and the laws are engineered to facilitate this vicious cycle. No black person should have to drive by prison while schools are being closed, nor should they have to go to city hall, court, or school and walk by the image of a human rights violator. Symbols of white supremacy belong in a museum, not in the public square. This yours, so I'm gonna shut the hell up if that's just stupid.
Yeah. First of all, again, you're in the conqueror's goddamn country. He created the rules. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm not trying to be cruel about who wrote this or anything like that, but this is ridiculous. I mean, how many times do we have to go through this over and over and over again, talking about, well, we got to do this, we got to have that, schools, prisons. First of all, what courthouse do black folks own and control? They don't. What schools do they own? The public school is, you get the funds from education, from the Board of Education. So what are they talking about? What is this about our courthouses? What we don't control any courthouses here. None. I don't understand where they're coming from with this. This is insanity. You're talking about courtrooms and schools. Get out of here. This is bullshit. And sounds like just some ADOS shit that they came up with, because this is what this all is. This is a bunch of ADOS nonsense. I mean, you're looking at, I pulled it back up. We have prisons that are set up primarily to serve as new plantations of America via the 13th Amendment. First of all, if we was Americans in the first place, none of this would matter. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, we were Americans, that would appeal to us from Jump Street, which it did not. And the other aspect, I'm looking at all this stuff. None of this, we don't control any of this. And I wrote this on the Messenger. I wrote this on a post that Howard was having a discussion with some dude. You had European Jews from 33 to 45 suffered under brutal tyranny from the Nazis. So they realized within 12 years, that never again are we going to let this happen to us. By 1948, with the help of the United States and Great Britain, they had their nation state. We've been here 494 years, brought here by the Spaniards in 1526. As you see all this nonsense, removing prisons and monuments, all this crazy nonsense. But yet still, amongst all of this, they still want to be here where they're removing prisons and you got your monuments and your physical institutions. If we had our own nation state, we won't have to worry about any of that. So as they write this, and I'm looking at Jewish people, 12 years of tyranny in Germany, and they had a nation state 3 years after World War II was over. And then their foreign policy, 90% States' foreign policy is dictated by whatever Israel wants in regards to the Middle East. So they're right in the South. They have absolutely no power, none of this. All this is about what's be here in America. They're not even concerned, not even coming up with the ideas like, you know what? If we had our own individual place where you could go to the UN. If George Floyd got what happened to him and you had a nation state, his family could have went to a consulate in Afghanistan and said, well, you know what? This is how our people were treated over here. We want to follow a formal complaint against the United States. You can't do that here. Who you expect that? What, the Attorney General? That's not going to work. You had a black president, 2 black attorney generals, nothing happened. You got all these different groups running around. You got the National Action Network, the NAACP, the march and protesting, line dancing out there, not asking for anything. This is all symbols of white supremacy belong in a museum. Again, the conqueror does not care. He doesn't care. And I wrote this before, man, the subversive intellectual power broker doesn't care. All he does is make money off of this. He knows exactly how black people are going to respond to every single situation. Black man gets shot, unarmed black man gets shot. We know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to march, they're going to protest, they're going to talk about changing the laws and this other nonsense, and they get really riled up. And then we'll send Sharpton out there. We'll have some other clown out there. We got this person on TV, this person on TV, that person on TV, and then what happens? It all gets dismantled. And then next you turn on the TV, you see people out there line dancing and hugging up on white folks. These multicultural do-nothing goddamn coalitions. How about having a coalition to put forth an effort to have a nation state so you don't have to write any of these 7 points on this manifesto that they come up with? It's I can feel the venom in my blood starting to pump just looking through this nonsense. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Here's my favorite one. No black purchasers have to drive by a prison while schools are being closed, nor should they have to go to City Hall court or schools and walk by the image of a human rights violator. So what's that mean? Are you talking about what, Confederate conspirators? Or are you talking about George Washington or Thomas Jefferson or some of these other clowns, the so-called founding fathers of the nation? They're just as culpable, as guilty as the Confederacy. All these atrocities that happen, they talk about the Confederate flag and all these symbols, all this happened under the banner of the stars, or the Stars and Stripes, the American flag. So if you want to pull down all these monuments to white supremacy, well, you got to pull them all down. Every single one. This is just ridiculous. And I don't have much to say on that. I've said my piece. I'll let everybody, say their piece.
Yo, Ronin, before anybody else comes in, how are you hearing the audio on your end? Through your computer?
Yeah, I hear it just fine.
Can you mute? If you mute your computer, can you hear it through your headset?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Because I think that's where the echo is coming from.
All right, I'll mute.
Try to mute. Don't mute your headset. Mute the audio on the computer.
Okay.
How's that?
Hold on.
Because I don't want to mute you. I want you to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Shit.
You're not looking at YouTube or anything, right?
Nope. I got everything closed.
And you're hearing the audio through your headset, not through the computer.
Yeah.
What the fuck is? Damn, because if I bring everybody in with the echo, then it's just going to be unlistenable.
It's all right. You can mute me. Let everyone else get their one word.
Ain't nobody echoing now. You just stop echoing too, Olive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Yeah, a faint one. You still have a faint one, yeah, but
it's still like in the background. All right. I want to say something before I bring everybody in anyway. So I'm going to mute everybody and have something to kind of sum up what we talked about. So we went through all the 7 points and we showed the flaws in those points. But there's something that I wanted to talk about that I've spoken about with other people offline, but I wanted to express this online now. We are in a better position than the Jews were when they got Israel. And why do I say that? I remember a year ago, Black Lives Matter was a pejorative. You couldn't, if you were to say it, it would get an automatic a negative response from right-wing radio and whatever, and just across the board. They say that now they've done recent pollings, and now Black Lives Matter is more respected than both the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the President of the United States. Other people, other leaders from other countries are expressing sympathy towards African Americans, making statements about how the U.S. is violating human rights when it comes to Black people here in America. In other words, what I'm saying is there's a big ass microscope on us right now. Everybody's concentrating on this issue. When George Floyd died and the way that he died, and everybody saw it, because I haven't really seen anybody say that that death was justified. Even the most vicious racist hasn't come out and said that he was pro the death of George Floyd. So this is a situation where everybody universally agrees that this was some bullshit. And we have all of this energy coming our way. And what's frustrating for me, and I'm sure frustrating for everybody else on this line, is that because of our lack of organization and our lack of leadership, we can't even put ourselves in a position, because what if in a perfect world, the BAIO was running things, in a perfect world, and we were the people that was controlling the microphone? What would we be pushing for right now? Oh, people are sympathetic to our plight here in America. Well, guess what? What was stolen from us? What was taken from us when we came over to this country? What was taken from us was our nation. So this is what we want. We want land so that we can build infrastructure and have a nation of our own on the continent. Now, which African nation or country wants to cede that land? We can have a discussion about that. But this would be the agenda on the table. Because we don't have the BAIO in charge, and because we don't have African Senate Progressive in charge, and because we don't have Black nationalists in charge, now what's on the docket is fucking statues, Aunt Jemima, and Uncle Ben. And I'll open up the store, up the the chat. Y'all fuck with that.
There's three points that I would like to make. Two of them are going to deal with what Ronin said, and then the one is going to be in response to Hola. The first point that I wanted to make as it pertains to Ronin's point was the same people who hate Jewish people admire the state of Israel. Why? It's an ethno state. Richard Spencer bought the same thing. Many far-right Jewish people, many far-right white nationalists in Europe admire Israel. So the same people who hate the Jews secretly admire what they've accomplished. Tell me what white supremacist is even thinking about that for Black people. Oh wait, you can't name it. Sorry, that was the wrong question to ask. Number two, if you're gonna take down the statues for George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, are they gonna start taking down the statues for Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Assata Shakur, Elijah Muhammad? Because that's next. Because they'll say, well, Assata Shakur killed the cops, so she was a cop killer. She should not be admired by any Black person. As a matter of fact, there was a Black Democratic candidate who brought up the words from Assata Shakur, and it got so much backlash that he had to retract his comments. Same thing with Garvey. They'll say, well, Garvey secretly met with the Klan, so Garvey's the Black version of the KKK. We got to take down his statues. We can't name nothing after Garvey. Elijah Muhammad believed in separation. We gonna have to take down his stuff too. So now you lead to a slippery slope. Whereas a nation, you can say, hey, listen, They got their Jefferson Davis, they got their George Washington, James Madison, but we got our Assata Shakur, we have our own Elijah Muhammad, we have our Malcolm X, we have our Marcus Garvey, Martin Delaney, Henry Menial Turner. We have our own heroes. And then as it pertains to the one with Hullup, is not only will we have negotiating power, we would be able to get reparations finally. Because when you have your own nation of your own, you can then make concessions and say, listen, if you want what's in your best interest, you would respect our nation and give us reparations. Unless, of course, you want us to go work with somebody you don't like and it causes you concern. Because when people bring up the Marshall Plan, because I really wanted to go in on that when they was talking about the Marshall Plan. Number one, like you said, they were given to nations. But number two, the U.S. had an interest in giving them reparations, aka the Marshall Plan. It was during the Cold War, hence the Soviet Union. Hence, they needed to stop the spread of communism. Hence, we need to build them up so we can gain their trust. What interest is it going to be for white people to say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to give y'all $10 trillion and we're going to give y'all 20% loans.
Exactly.
Let me say, I just have one point, and it literally covers everything in here. So what I notice is that symbolism, and we could also call them pacifiers, but just symbolisms and little pacifiers do wonders. That's like, aside from having Black folks going against each other, giving symbols of progress and, you know, baby steps is everything. And what it comes down to, the point that I want to make is, all you got to do is make us feel good. Because we such a spirited people, you know, for literally, we such a spirited people, you know, get into metaphysics and, you know, we the children of the sun and everything, which all of it true. And in that same token, though, when you talk about taking down monuments and give us 20% of this and, ooh, our spending power is this, you just make us feel good. You ain't got to show shit. The action literally ain't got to be nothing but somebody saying, you know what, Black lives do matter. Man, I feel good about that. Look, man, look, they didn't took down the flag off NASCAR. Man, that's what's up. We going straight to the top. You know, just make us feel good. That's all you got to do is make us feel good, and everything is all right. And we just keep on getting our asses kicked. Just make us feel good. It's like, you know, I'm in a relationship and I'm getting my head beat in, but damn, man, when we go to my family's house, don't just treat me like shit. You know, keep that shit at home. When we out in public, treat me like a lady. And that's Black folks in a nutshell. That's what I see. Just make us feel good and we good.
A better analogy would be like an abuser beating his wife and then gives her chocolate, and then says, "I'm sorry, boo," and then the wife forgives him, and she just
He
keeps
loves
letting
me.
the cycle of
He
abuse
loves
happen.
me. I know he loves me. He just going through some shit, you know, for 400 years. But I know he loves me. That's it. I passed the rock.
My mic is on mute now.
Yeah, I want to give Ronin a chance to talk because I hate the fact that we got to mute him. That sucks. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. With symbolic victories, Black folks are addicted to symbolic victories. If you look at people, and it's a form of, almost like a form of escapism. It tells you just how weak we are as a people. If you're a drug addict, your life is so bad, people turn to drugs, they crawl into the bottle. Or if you're a Christian and you have certain proclivities, you like to cheat on your wife or whatever, you go to church, you get whatever it is to make you feel good, and then after that wears off, you go right back to doing what you was before. A drug addict, when they feel bad, they get high, they feel good, it wears off, and then the misery returns. So we're dealing with 400 plus years of misery, a symbolic victory here, a symbolic victory there, and then Black folks feel good. Oh, they painted Black Lives Matter on the street. They did this, they did that, and they feel good about it. But it doesn't. It's not sustainable. It doesn't last. It doesn't last. I love chocolate cake. But when it's gone, I'm sad. You know why? Because, well, I had it. Now it's gone. I don't have any more cake to eat. And this is a continuing thing with African Americans here. And even that term Americans, it means nothing. It's just black descendants of Africans in America. It's the same old tired game. And they don't see, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And I called it before the Klondike bars. They got a nice, lovely brown chocolate shell, but underneath that shell is creamy, rich, white ice cream. Black folks want to sit on verandas, chill out on, like they want to go to Panera, sit out on the patio and have their lattes and their little, cranberry salads and stuff like that, and want to floss like white folks and talk about equality. They want to throw it in their faces, but they don't want to go and not realizing that you can go have your Olive Garden or your Panera bread in your own nation state, and then you have to worry about someone Karen calling the cops on you saying, "Oh, these black folks are too loud. Do something about it." And this right here is not changing. It's not going to change or do anything. This manifesto is going to change the prospects of African Americans in this country. It's not. The police. Who's going to protect you? The police? Yeah, I don't think so. The military? That worked out real well for Greenwood, Oklahoma. That didn't work out for them. It's just a constant thing, like you said before, how this Batman versus the Joker nonsense. In black folks, you have a segment of black folks. And the other thing you said, the programming. The black folks are programmed to think that they can be the moral center of a country that is moral, that has no morals whatsoever. Turn native. You want to be here, have all this inside a nation where you're talking about the founding fathers who turned Native Americans, a group of people, into an endangered species in their land, and then dictated where they're going to put them at on these so-called reservations, nothing more than concentration camps. And they suffer from high rates of, alcoholism, depression, suicide. And people want to stay here, and you want to tear down monuments and have funds allocated to this and stuff like that. But you don't want to have your own place that you control from top to bottom. I don't understand it. What do I know? I'm just a former football player. I don't know shit. So, and I'll end with that, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
This is the thing, man. It's like, I've been through this before, and it was called the Million Man March. And I got an opportunity to see where you can have a million sincere brothers who want to change, who want to move forward, who want something progressive to happen. And I've seen all of that good energy squandered. And I hope that I'm wrong, but it don't look like I'm going to be wrong on this one. I hope that I am. I feel that all of this energy, because right now we have the world focused on us. And when you're not organized, you're not able to take advantage of that. And what's going to happen is people are going to get tired. I mean, that 7 o'clock shit. Every time it's 7 o'clock, people was ringing, clapping and making all this noise at 7 o'clock. Now 7 o'clock rolls around, I don't hear shit. People get tired of doing shit over and over. I don't want no fucking symbolic Listen, when I'm playing against a team, I don't want a symbolic victory. I want a fucking victory. Symbolism doesn't mean shit on the scoreboard. I want to beat the other team. I want a victory, not a symbolic victory, a fucking victory. And the only way we're going to be victorious is if we have our own shit. It's that simple. Anyway, who else is open? Who has something else to say?
You know what's insulting, and I was seeing this. I was going ham on people on Twitter about this. When people were referring to, oh, it's Juneteenth, it's Black Independence Day, and I just cringed. I was like, call it Freedom Day. Don't call it Independence Day, because when you say Independence Day, that indicates that you're an independent country, and you gain independence from somebody. So if it's Black Independence Day, who did we gain independence from? Because to say that it's Black Independence Day and you gain independence from no country, it's not Independence Day. Just say Freedom Day. And then number two was, ooh, it reminded me of I saw on Instagram, and they kept saying, how to be a good white ally, and here's
Oh
how you can
Lord.
help people of color. I'm just like, I stopped posting stuff on my Instagram. Like people wonder, well, why don't you post stories on my Instagram? Because like, if you guys can't understand now, why? Like I just why? Because
I
every other group, hold on, go in.
I can't take this woke shit. This shit is fucking annoying to me. Like any black person is saying, if I hear this out of your mouth, check your privilege. Get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit. I'm not trying to hear that shit. First of all, this is a white nation. They are privileged because it's a white nation. It's their fucking country. What the hell do you think that check your privilege? Could you imagine saying that to a Chinese person in China? Check your Chinese privilege. I'm speaking as a black person. Who gives a fuck about you? Nobody's going to care about you. Nobody's going to respect you until you get your own shit. Bottom line, that's how we can sum up this whole live stream and all of those black agenda points. Nobody is going to respect you until you push and get your own shit. We're not even in a position ideologically, where we can push for nationhood. Right now, people is pushing to put dreads on Uncle Ben? To put Aunt Jemima with a weave? That's what power is? We have the whole world focusing on us, and these are the things that what the fuck does a statue have to do with police brutality? How did that get into the mix? And then we wonder how people hijack our movements. I posted the link to the original Black Lives Matter, the one that wasn't co-opted. Because Black Lives Matter came from Ferguson and police brutality. If you look at the link that I posted there and you look at the solutions, all of those solutions is geared around police brutality. And those are young people that started that. And that's the only positive thing in this whole thing, is that I thought that people were so apathetic and so like not caring that nobody had any more rage anymore. Like when I saw what happened to George Floyd, I'm really shocked and surprised that it started this protest and stuff, because I didn't think anybody even fucking cared. And especially in light of the fact that you have the coronavirus out there, I was pretty shocked that people even went to the streets. And young people, like one of the people at my job told me that they went to a rally, and the whole rally was organized by an 18-year-old black girl. So anybody that's listened to me for any extended amount of time knows I don't attack my people. I don't really have an issue with the masses. I don't even have an issue with the unconscious or the people that are not into the things that we're into. I love my people. The ones who I have a biggest problem with is the people that they listen to, the people that's holding the biggest microphone, the people that's influencing them. I have a bigger problem with Cornel West than I do Pookie and Ray Ray. Because Pookie and Ray Ray is only operating off of what they've been around and what they're used to, what they've been educated, what's their frame of reference. What the fuck is Cornel West's excuse? When you tell our people that when they try to fight for their own self-interest, that's them being a black version of the KKK, and then you got this idiot, somebody, I don't know who Terry Crews' publicist is, but his publicist needs to sit down and talk to him and say, listen, motherfucker, you are not smart. You're funny. You're a good comedian, but you're not smart. You're an idiot. Don't talk about socioeconomic and political and cultural issues. Just be a comedian, make people laugh, and go home to your white wife. His publicist needs to tell him that shit. Because every time he opens up his fucking mouth, he gets all this extreme blowback because he says something fucking stupid. But anyway.
No, it's even more insulting, hold up, when just like I was reading articles about how this man said, the NBA needs to play the black national anthem and we need to have the black state of the union. I'm just like,
why? For what? That's a victory. That's a victory. If the NBA plays the black national anthem, we've won. In the meantime, every fucking dollar in that stadium is going right to the NBA.
And you say black national anthem. Do we have a black Olympic team? Are we our own nation? So do I get to wave my flag and we carry our athletes to the Olympic Games? Oh wait, you have to have a nation. My bad. I'm so sorry. It's just so insulting, and it was just like when I saw on Instagram when it came to Brother Cornel West, what Cornel West saying, and Terry Crews was like, I stand with my comments. We need white allies, or we're gonna have black supremacy. Let me ask everybody in this entire chat. When the Chinese government wants hegemony in East Asia and wants the US kicked out, India wants hegemony in their region. It's because you want to control your region. You don't want somebody else who, mind you, is not even located in your region to come in and say, we get to dictate, your routes by the South China Sea, by Taiwan, by Japan. Excuse me, you don't even live here. What happened if I came and gave you my cruise missiles in Jamaica, in Cuba, in Bahamas? Oh, wait, the U.S. government would not dare do that because it is about supremacy. It is about saying, listen, I want control over my region, period. Okay, we want control over our destiny. Now you can form alliances with us, but you're not going to challenge our authority in this region.
There you go.
It's not going to happen.
There you go.
Brain would know.
There you go. If you're not doing that, then you're not thinking about power. And the person who wrote that manifesto is not thinking about power. What they're thinking about is inclusion. And I'm sorry, I'm not down with inclusion. I'm down with us having our own. And if we have suffering so much under this system, the logical thing to do is to petition to have our own. And we are in a perfect position to do it right now. But that window is very small. And I don't see that microphone coming to us anytime soon. Unless something radically happens, I don't see it. Because right now, the people that everybody's listening to is the people these old school activists doing the same goddamn thing. Now they want to do another march on Washington. And I'm quite sure the businesses in Washington should benefit from that. People selling water should benefit from it. The people who sell masks will probably benefit from it. Some Negro will get up there and try to outdo Martin Luther King. All symbolism, all bullshit. But nobody's going to petition for us to have a nation of our own, except us. Except us. Like I said, we don't have a big demographic, man. We don't have a big demographic, but it's only us. All we have is us. And I'll take a good 2% of dedicated people over 48 million people that ain't trying to do nothing.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean
to go ahead.
No, think about it. They just did a demographic report that said majority of Jews live outside of Israel. Most of them live in America, then live in Israel. But I want you to ask this question. Go up to any Jewish American and ask them, should the nation state of Israel exist? Hands down, they'll say yes.
Right.
And if you said, well, Israel shouldn't exist, people automatically accuse you as being an anti-Semite.
Right.
Because you're talking about a fund. It's one thing to say, listen, I disagree with what Israel does, its policies. It's one thing to say the state of Israel should not exist.
And do you know that's what I always ask people, Darius? Like whenever somebody tells me that we shouldn't have a nation state, I say, oh, so you're against the state of Israel?
it's funny too. It's funny too, hold up, because the same people who do not advocate for us having our own nation are the same people who support Zionism. Martin Luther King, Bayard Rustin, all saying black nationalism is wrong. You know, the hate and despair of the black nationalists. Meanwhile, yeah, we support Zionism, and any person who's against Zionism is anti-Semitic.
Right.
So, with your same logic, since you don't support black nationalism, you're anti-black.
Right. Logically. But these people don't think logically. These arguments are not like, it's like the cops. The cops say, "Hey, you can't judge all cops just because one bad cop did something." I'm like, "Oh wow, so now your guys understand the concept." No sense of irony, no cognitive dissonance whatsoever. So now you expect us to follow a philosophy that you don't even follow. Because when you see me, you see black men. You see me as a plural. You don't see me as an individual. That's the reason why you'll kill me. But then when I look at you, I'm supposed to, if one cop kills one of us, I'm like, oh, well, the rest of them must be good. All of y'all motherfuckers ain't shit. All of you ain't shit.
Same thing with
Good cops. There ain't no good cop. If there was good, and the whole bad apple shit, like I've said this multiple times. Everybody always says one bad apple, but nobody completes the whole term, the whole phrase. It's one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Nobody ever says that part. They only talk about the bad apple part. And to obliterate that whole bad apple shit, and I did it early on the video that I did today. How come if it's only one bad apple, how come if the good apple turns that bad apple in, all the other so-called good apples turn against them? What that shows me is all of y'all is fucked up. And if there's one person who does the right thing, they're either going to get killed or they're not going to be a police officer no more. And in that environment, in that culture, you honestly, with a straight face, is trying to tell me that there's good cops? A cop just shot a dude in the back. What did his other fellow good officers do? They called in sick out of protest for this guy, because if you can't kill people, why should you be a cop? That's how they think. There's been cops that have quit just recently because, like, well, shit, if you can't let me kill motherfuckers, what the fuck am I a cop for? I might as well retire. You putting one arm behind my back. So don't give me that good cop shit bullshit. I'm not trying to hear that dumb shit.
No, let's apply that same logic to the protesters out there and, of course, to black people. Oh, you have a few protesters being violent. Oh, the protests are violent. They're
Right.
out of control. We need to send the military. And hold on, wait a minute. You said there's a few bad apples. So there's just a few bad protesters, but the majority of us are peaceful. So don't you blame us for those few, because if you're going to use that same logic, then yes, all cops are bad. All cops want to commit crime. All cops have a bad culture. Then all of a sudden you get into self-defense mode. No. It's either what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Either apply the same logic or don't. It's just that simple.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. But
oh,
yeah,
and one last thing.
go ahead.
I'm tired of Negroes explaining. Like, can y'all stop explaining? Here's a good way how to be a good ally. Here are some suggestive readings. Here, like, can y'all stop? Like, I'm tired of just scrolling through my Instagram feed and just seeing, here's a way you can donate. Here are some black businesses you can support. It's like, oh my gosh, like, y'all really trying to change people's heart and soul. Oh my gosh, like,
Yo, let me
no
address
other
that.
group does this.
Let me
Nobody.
address that.
I'm telling you.
Let me address that. When I was in Rwanda, I didn't have to go through no special thing to support black businesses because the country was black. And I just leave it at that. I just leave it at that. I supported a black country because I was in their country. So every business I went to, even if the business wasn't black, they were paying taxes to a black nation. So there it is. And on that note, I think I'm going to end this because I don't want this to go too long. I want people to use this as a reference when it comes to this issue of the Black agenda. So anybody that you see posting up this meme, I want you to attach the link to this video as a response to it every single time. And on that note, I think Umoja and Darius are muted. Could y'all come out of mute for just 1 second? I just want to say peace to both of you.
Yes, sir.
All right, peace.
And thank you for joining us. And thank you for participating in this breakdown and deconstruction of the Black agenda. And thank you to everybody in the chat room. Don't forget, it's BAIOAfricstan.org. If you haven't signed up to the BAIO, which I have really nothing to say at this point. Like, if you don't, there should be no one in this chat that has not signed up to the BAIO website. If you haven't, do it right now. I'll forgive you. I ain't gonna be mad at you. I ain't gonna be mad. But sign up now. Better late than never.
And
Anyway, I'll holler at all you good people later, and y'all be safe out there, all right? Peace.
yes, peace, y'all.